Hey everybody, welcome to Board Online, Board Offline. Today we have the next video in our top 60 best games of all time. We're going through 40 through 31 today. Now, this section of the list is kind of interesting. It actually has 5 new to the list games in it. I believe this section has the most new to the list games of any section of the list. Yeah, there's also some games that have shown up quite a few times on my list as well that you'll be seeing here momentarily. So we've got a lot of the old guard from my best games of all time and the newcomers. Now, before we get into the list, I do want to mention our sponsor, StoneValleyGames.com. This is your friendly, distant game store. They got a ton of great stuff over there. Go check them out. Some of the games on this list might be over there. If they are, there will be a link to them in the description below. You also can find, you've got board games, card games, RPGs, war games, collectible card games. They run the entire gamut of the tabletop hobby over there. They've got some great programs. If you're a return customer, they have a loyalty program. If you're in the United States military and you're stationed overseas at an AA, AE, or AP address, they'll ship to you for free. And if you live in the continental United States and you order $100 or more from them, they'll ship to you for free as well. So be sure to go check them out. StoneValleyGames.com. There's a link in the description below. Also, if you'd like to support the channel, of course, the absolute best way you can do that is simply subscribing and liking the video. No charge there, and it helps us out tremendously. You can share the video, all that good stuff. And then if you want to throw some monetary support our way as well, the best way to do that probably is to just go leave a super thanks in the comment section as well. That is very, very welcome. I very much appreciate that, and any little bit helps. But of course, our videos will always remain entirely free. We don't have Kickstarters or Patreons or anything like that. Number 40 is Flashpoint Fire Rescue. I would almost say this is in the realm of a modern classic at this point. This was number 30 last year, so it's dropped a little bit, but I really think it's got more to do with other games coming in above it than this game really losing any prestige in my mind. This is one that, for one thing, I love the way the rules are set up. They're set up in such a way that you can kind of ease into the full set of rules. And you can see it's got the family game set up initially, and then you can go in and get the experience game set up. And even within the experience game, there's different amounts of rules that you can add in. You've got up to, I think, 6 different people can play. Of course, it's cooperative, so you can play solo as well. With the map here, you have 2 different sides. You've got one side, this side here, which is kind of your standard difficulty level and everything. And then if that's just not enough of a challenge for you, you can flip over to this side and run the difficult side of the map as well. You have different firefighter roles. You've got the driver operator, the hazmat technician, CAFS firefighter, fire captain, imaging technician, generalist, and rescue specialist. And don't forget the paramedic. Each of them has different abilities that really, change the way that you're going to play and the specific goals that you might be going, or I shouldn't say goals, but because you have everybody's working towards the same goal, which is rescuing people from the building, but specific ways that your strengths might cater towards fighting the fire itself. If you are maybe the generalist has more action points. The driver operator can fire the deck gun and really blow out a whole lot of fire all at once. Meanwhile, the paramedic can make it so that the victims can actually help walk themselves out rather than having to be carried, basically. So lots of cool stuff there. You are, going around the building. We see these points of interest, and when you get near them, you flip them over, and it's hopefully going to be a person, but it also might just be nothing. There's blank ones and everything as well. So that you got to watch out for that. And you also have the fire tokens here, and basically you're rolling dice to decide where these fire tokens are going to go. And if let's see, if it's a smoke and you roll that, then it turns into fire. But if you roll for fire, and so you'll be putting another token out there, instead there's an explosion, and you put fire out in all these different directions. And if the explosion hits the wall, well, that's when these come out and go on the wall. 2 of those mean that section of the wall's been blown out. There's a hole there. If too many of those go out, then the building collapses and you lose. If an explosion hits a point of interest that happens to be a person, that person essentially is dead. And if you lose a certain number of people, I can't remember how many, then you lose the game. You have to rescue 7, I think. And yeah, so it's a pretty intense situation. It's a great cooperative game, a great family cooperative game as well, because if your firefighter gets caught in an explosion, well, they just go outside to the ambulance and then they come back in. So, you know, there's not player elimination or anything like that. It just slows you down if you aren't careful enough and get caught in one of those explosions. Really, really fun, easy to get into. And then it keeps rewarding you by providing some new rules that you can opt to put into the game to increase the difficulty and complexity of the game. Flashpoint Fire Rescue is my number 40. Number 39 was 57 last year, and that's Paladins of the West Kingdom. Now, this is the only West Kingdom game that I own, though it's not the only West Kingdom game that I really enjoy playing. But it is number 39, and this one, there's so much going on here. I definitely can't show you everything, but this is the player board. So each player will have their own player board, and so much of what you do, of course, is focused here. So I'm going to show you this part at least, just to give you a brief idea. And so, you know, you've got these different actions. You can see, for instance, develop. It's going to take 2 workers. They're clear so that you can use any type of worker. You can see you got a whole bunch of different workers in here that you could possibly end up using. And when you take the develop action, so maybe I'll take this one. Obviously, you're clearing it off from left to right, okay? And so you see some of these have these dotted lines. So I would put that there, for instance, as an example. And now that basically covers up that spot. No longer have to put a worker in that spot to take the commission action in this case. And when I have uncovered that, I now will gain a white worker in this case. Like that I will be able to use for other things later on. And as you can see, the more, the different ones you uncover, white workers, green, blue, red, black, and then you've got these victory points here as well for uncovering the ones down the line there. Then you've got this commission action here. And this is a good example of how not only is it going to take workers to do an action, but then you can see up here, it takes different amounts of provisions, which are these tokens right here. And so these first 3 are going to take 1 provision, then you got 2 provisions here and 3. And when you commission, then you will take the monk. That's what these are. These are monks, and you'll place it out on the main board. There's different restrictions. I'm not really worried about right now. I'm just trying to show you generally how this works. You'll take that monk, you'll place it, they say there, for instance, and so you'll gain that reward. In this case, a green worker, which is a scout. The white workers, by the way, are laborers. Then you've got the blue ones that are merchants, red ones are fighters, and the black ones are clerics. Oh, and the purple ones are criminals. Similarly, you got the garrison action here, where you can take, if you use this right here, you take a garrison and put it out over here and get whatever reward there is there. And a lot of what is going to affect where you can place these has to do with your score on this track here. So you've got this marker that keeps track of your influence. You've got the black one here that keeps track of your faith, and the red one that keeps track of your strength. And that affects where your garrison, or the strength affects your garrison, the faith affects your clerics. And there's so many decisions to be made here. I haven't even touched the absolve stuff. And I mean, you've got fortify, attack, convert. You've got these townsfolk cards here. You've got paladin cards. You've got outsider cards. There's so much going on in this game. It's mind-boggling. Definitely the heaviest, at least of the West Kingdom games. I don't know about all of the Garfield games. There's the West Kingdom, there's the South Tigris, there's the North Sea, I believe is the other one. So there's all these different games going on in this kind of series of games. Each one has a trilogy. Paladin is definitely the heaviest of the West Kingdom ones. So much. I mean, I've played it a few times and I have no idea what the best strategy is. I don't know if there is a best strategy, but it is so crunchy with so many decisions and so much fun. This Paladins of the West Kingdom, my number 39. Number 38 is Roam and Roll, which was 33 last year. So this is basically in the same spot. And this is a great, probably the most well, I don't know if it's the most complex roll and write because Hadrian's Wall is right up there, but this is certainly one of them. It's different than Hadrian's Wall in that everything is with dry erase. All right, so I do have the character expansion in here. So when you're playing, you have a number of different characters that have some differences, especially with their advisors, but some differences in the tracks as well. You've got the Pontifex, you've got Patricia, the Prefectus, Nobilis, Artifitrix, Mercatrix, and Legatus, and they all have different things going on here. And on the back here, you do have some reference if you want to keep one to the side there for reference purposes. Or really, I mean, again, it's all dry erasing. You can turn your own over and see it. All right. And so as you're going along, you're going to have Rome in the middle here. And this is the 3 and 4 player side. This is the 1 and 2 player side. And there will be these different buildings that you can build. So for instance, with a shrine, it's just a 2-block building. And you can see that in this case, it says that it must be entirely on a hill, max 1 per hill. And so, I would take this, and the hills are these colored areas here. So you can see this is a hill, this is a hill, and each hill has its own name. And I could put a shrine here, for instance, like that, right? And you normally put in the letters here to mark what it is, and then that's your color, so you know it's yours. And now, though, there can be no more shrines on that hill, but then maybe green would come up later, and green would put a shrine on this hill. Again, there's there's placement rules and all that kind of stuff, but generally speaking, this is kind of the idea of how this is going to work. It's going to require 2 bricks, right? And so you look over here on your board, and this is where you're keeping track of wood, bricks, and wood, brick, stone, fish, basket, which can be anything except jewelry, and then jewelry, which is used for its own purposes. I feel like there's something special with jewelry. I can't remember exactly what that was, but you've got this your actions reference here that you can refer to. Your advisors give you special stuff, and again, the advisors are different depending on who you're playing as. And you got all these different buildings, and you've got the religious building, you've got army buildings here. Again, this one, gain a soldier if spear, gain 1 more. And the soldiers and stuff are used for various things. And you can come down here into Hispania, Gallia, Egyptus, and Asia Minor, and you're building roads and conquering, expanding out, and everything as well down here. And it's just this, and as you build these buildings and you're taking over this area, it really starts to get tight, and you're trying to find how you're going to fit in there and everything. You've got your people here that are moving around the board that have, again, go into those restrictions on where you can build and what you can do. You've got these dice that you're going to be rolling at various times to collect different resources. You can see you've got the wood and the brick and some hammers, and there's a spear, fish, basket, and there's the jewel on there. Lots of really cool stuff going on here that was unlike anything I had seen. And between this and Hadrian's Wall, they have 2 entirely different ways of doing the complex roll and write. And I feel like they fit 2 different kind of sections of what I want out of a complex roll and write. And so they definitely both have a place in my collection. And this is one that I've only played it solo. I need to show it to some people because I'd love to see how it goes multiplayer. But yeah, it's a great time. This is Roam and Roll. My number 37 was 56 last year. That's Dawn of Peacemakers. This is the same universe as Dale of Merchants and Lands of Galzer, and is a really cool, unique take on a combat themed games, in that you are not the two combatants, the two warring tribes or warring factions going at each other. You're these guys in the middle that are trying to not let them wipe each other out. You might have to encourage them to kill each other a good bit, but the goal is to make them each get sick of fighting and give up, essentially. And so you'll have two different factions out here, so you've got the McCall faction, for instance, and the Ocelot faction, maybe they're the ones that are out here. And there could be some extra terrain and stuff going on. You got like these river tiles and stuff, and so different things that could be going on here. You will be one of these peacemakers that's going around the battle, kind of getting in between the two factions and doing all kinds of mischief and murder and mayhem to again wear them down until they just don't want to fight anymore. You can see you've got these tracks. They're going to track the motivation. I'm not sure which is the right side. The motivation for the individual factions. And admittedly, it's been a while since I've played. Like I said, it's risen quite a bit because my middle child, who's the one that really enjoys playing the games, is almost to the point where she can play, and I'm getting excited to get back into this one. I love the I got about halfway through the campaign when I was playing it solo, and then I put it on pause, and I am waiting for my middle child to get there, and we're almost there, and I'm really getting pumped to get back into it. So with, so for instance, the Ocelot faction, you're going to have the chieftain, the Ocelot hunter, the Ocelot archer, Ocelot warrior, those types of characters. And when they're playing from their deck, you might end up with something like an order come out like revoked cover, for instance, or unexpected move, reckless fortify, stuff like that. And so it's going to affect when they go, how they go, because you've got the speed down here. You've got whether it's a move cover or strike ability, all this kind of stuff, right? And then the player, so basically these factions are all automated, right? With these decks. The player has this resource deck that they're drawing from. And for instance, you've got food poisoning. Choose one of your undamaged companion units. Give it 2 damage tokens. You've got false order. Choose one of your companion units. Look at one bottom card from its army order deck. Either place the card on top of the corresponding deck or back on the bottom. So that way you're actually affecting the orders that they're getting from the cards I showed you earlier. And in addition, you of course are using these cards for other purposes as well. You got movement and all kinds of stuff on here, but there's just a ton of these resource cards, mixed groups, emergency care, encouraging words, lookout. And up to 4 players can play as the peacemakers as you're going through this campaign, trying to ensure that the different factions don't successfully take each other out. There's all kinds of unlockable decks in here. I've got to reset it so that when we start playing, my daughter and I, that it'll be back to the initial setup. But where's the campaign? Yeah. So you've got this campaign booklet that you're working your way through. Just a really well thought out and unique game that is, that's really what so much of what goes on in this universe, this Galzer universe. Just there's always a unique take on everything, and I love it. That's Dawn of Peacemakers. Number 36 is brand new to the list, the first new one in this section. That's Tales from the Loop, the board game. Now, this is based off of it's based off of a book series or short story series or something like that, which was also turned into a show on Amazon Prime, I believe. One season, really interesting, kind of depressing show, but it was really worth watching. I want to go back and rewatch it. Anyway, that's not what this is. This is based off the original material. And so you've got this board here. You're playing, you and whoever else is playing with you are all playing as either middle school or high school students. I believe middle school students in one of the Nordic countries. I think it's Iceland. Let's get it right. It is Sweden. In Sweden. And you're going to play as one of these kids, right? You've got Veronica the metalhead, Stefan the jock, Lena the popular girl, Clara the bookworm, Jonas the hick, Alex the troublemaker, Nils the weirdo, and Sasha the computer geek, okay? And so you're going to be, let's say we play as the metalhead, right? All right, so you're going to have these cubes. They're going to be on your board here, and everything is based around how much time you've got, because you've got to go to school during the week, because you can see up here, you got the calendar here of the weekly schedule, Monday through Friday. Friday, you got to deal with chores. Then you got the weekend, but you're going to school these other days. You got to deal with your parents. You could end up getting grounded, exhausted, upset, scared, injured. All these are problems. You also are going to have these skills. So, for instance, Veronica is quick, but also skittish. And so, in a 2 to 3 player game, it'd be 5 and 2. In a 4 to 5 player game, 4 and 1. So those, the skills adjust based off of the player count. And you've got these different actions, and all these different actions take different amounts of time. And again, depending on what's going on with you, whether you're grounded or not, whether you're scared or not, all this stuff is going to affect the amount of time you've got. And you'll be going around this map, and there are these different bots that are going to be kind of going around as well. And maybe they're actively, hostile. Maybe they're not. You can actually hack the bots as well to affect what's going on with them. You'll actually have this deck of school events that you're going to have to deal with as well. So, different things that are going to happen each day at school. And there are these rumor cards, which are a huge part of the game, because a lot of what you're trying to do is solve these rumors that are out there, or these mysteries that are out there, which, you've got these different icons that are going to affect how you go about doing that. And a lot of it is going to be skill checks, again, based off of if you're quick or skittish, or clever and dull, or brave and weak, that sort of thing. Kind of a cool thing is every skill has its opposite. So, for instance, quick, the opposite of that one is, as you might expect, slow. But then clever, the opposite, is dense. And then brave, the opposite, is skittish. And you can see how it kind of goes around in a circle. Charming, the opposite, is dull. And so everybody has those different skills. You'll be rolling dice to deal with the different skill checks. I love the unique concept of being these kids in school and having to deal with those mundane family things. If you get your parent, maybe you need to get across the map fast, so you get your parents to come help you out. Well, getting a ride, where is it, Ray? Let's see, car ride, move to any open location, so you can go anywhere, but you're going to lose one favor with your parents because you just, called them up and had them come do this errand for you, or to, take time out of their day to get you where you need to go. Lots of really interesting concepts going on here. Again, certainly a unique theme, and I think some unique, with the way these player boards work, there's some unique things going on there as well. That's Tales from the Loop, the board game. All right, number 35 is technically new to the list because it is Infinity Gauntlet, a love letter game. However, it should be noted that Batman, a love letter game, has spent time on the list in the past, but this is currently my favorite version of the game. And the reason I like this version better than previous ones is Whereas all the previous ones are every person for themselves. This one, let's see, there's the Avengers, there's Thanos. Yeah, that's right. That right there. Yes. Okay. All right. So the heroes will always start with their life tracker here. So all the heroes are on one team and they're playing against Thanos, whose life tracker, so if it's Thanos versus one hero player, it'll be here, 1 or 2. And then Thanos versus 3 other heroes, 4 other heroes, 5 other heroes, etc. like that. Right. And so basically the teams, Thanos is trying to get the heroes all the way down to here. The heroes are trying to get Thanos all the way down to here. And you can see we've got heroes like Iron Man, Doctor Strange, Gamora, Spider-Man, Hulk, Nebula, Captain America, Captain Marvel, Black Panther, Falcon, Scarlet Witch, Star-Lord, Vision, Thor, Ant-Man and Wasp, and Black Widow are all in here. Meanwhile, Thanos is dealing with stuff like we got Black Dwarf, Outrider, Corvus Glaive, Reality Space, Thanos himself, there's another Outrider, Mind Stone, Ebony Maw, Soul, Power, Proxima Midnight, and Time Stone. All of the things that you would expect to see in an Infinity Gauntlet version of this game. They all have, there's no like there are some 1-to-1 powers, but it's not entirely a 1-to-1 match. And you can see, because here we've got the hero powers here, the Thanos powers here. You've got these power tokens. It really takes that love letter experience, changes it up a lot, and I just really love turning Love Letter into a 1 versus mini game. I mean, again, Thanos versus 5 other players is such a cool idea. I've not played it at that level. I've only played it 1 versus 2, but the fact that it's available to you there is such a fantastically cool idea. Just as simple to get into as all the others once you get that, life scale thing in your head, that one extra rule there, everything else still fits together the way you'd expect your Love Letter game to. That's Infinity Gauntlet, a Love Letter game. Number 34 is also new to the list. This is Australia. This is certainly a unique game in the theme, if nothing else. All kinds of great components in this, by the way. I love these. Look at those. Those are so cool. All right. So you're in Australia, and what you're doing is you're actually building railroads. You'll have a certain spot that'll be your port. And so, of course, the port has to be in one of the coastal hexes here. So, well, not up here, but one of these coastal hexes. Actually, yeah, you could do up here because there's an anchor there. So anywhere with an anchor is where you could put your port. And then you'll start building your railroad from there, just like this. But you're, of course, going to be having to deal with the old ones who show up. You got these temples that teleport in, level 3 old ones. You've got level 1, 2, and 3 Migos and Shoggoths. And what else? We've got the corrupted humans, essentially. You got zombies, all these different things going on here. But when they start out, they will be face down, so you don't know exactly what you're dealing with other than how powerful it might be, because obviously level 3 is going to be harder to deal with. And you have markers on this time track that you're going across. And once you have this initial time to set up, when you get out here to time 22, that's when the old ones will start taking their turn. And essentially, this is one of the games where different things that you do, I might take an action that's going to cause my time marker to skip ahead to, right? And then if anybody's behind me, then it's their turn. Whoever's the farthest back on the time track, that's who goes next. And, so once you get up here, once you pass 22, the old ones have their own marker, or a purple marker, and so it will start going along as well and just keeps taking turns with everybody else. And they're going to start wreaking havoc because you're part of what you're doing is you're setting up farms. So, in these areas we can set up sheep farms, but and it does have to be connected to your railroad. So keep that in mind. But, if one of the old ones ends up on one of your farms, well, it becomes blighted and then it doesn't give you points at the end of the game. There's also these events that are going to be happening, and you can hire different people to come and help out. And you've got your military. Where's the military? Yeah, so you've got these military tokens that you can get. Here's the player board, so you can see you've got infantry, armored cars, artillery, airships, and armored trains. And different ones are going to have different success rates against the various old ones. So, for instance, you can see that against, let's forget about Cthulhu, but against the Shoggoth, infantry will be poor, armor cars poor, the train's going to be good, artillery is good, and the airship will be average. In fact, the airship is average against everything except the zombies, where it's poor. And artillery is good against everything except the Migos is average and zombies is poor against them. And so you can see how you're going to need a variety of military units to be able to succeed everything. And this player board is really helpful because it really does help you understand the amount of time. So this particular action will cost you 2 time. This one's going to cost you 3 time, etc. Really fun game. I've only played it solo. I have a feeling this game sings much better multiplayer. I like it solo, but I don't know if it'll make it into my top solo list games come November. But it certainly is one that I think is a really fantastic experience. I love the theme, and I can't wait to get it played with my game group. That's Australia. Number 33 was 62 last year, which makes this one the highest riser out of this section of the list, rising 29 spots. By the way, the largest faller was Flashpoint Fire Rescue, falling 10 spots, which means this is a pretty good section of the list as far as things not really falling too much. But Abyss coming up 29 spots is pretty awesome. This box has certainly seen better days, but this is a game that really is kind of a glorified card game because the board is really designed just to help keep the cards that are in play organized. And so what's going to happen here is you've got kind of 3 different sections. Along the bottom here, this is where you're going to have these different lords that are just some of the most fantastic artwork in board gaming. You've got a few different factions here, and they're doing different things. You've got the actual points across the top here. You've got their cost down here, and then these different abilities. The arrows mean it's going to happen right now when you take them. Then some of them have abilities that kind of last. So, like the landlord here, gain 1 pearl during each of your turns. The pearls are the currency, or one of the currencies in the game. So you've got these this cool pearls. They give you this nice little. Each player has these 2 containers to hold on to them because they go all over the place. Obviously, you are vying for these different territories that are going to give you, points at the end of the game. The nest of giant clams, 3 points for each of your affiliated allies from the shellfish race, plus 3. So these different things, you get these when you collect 3 keys. So you can see there's a key here, there's one here, there's one here. You've got across the top here is where you'll be drawing from this deck as you kind of dive into the depths and explore. And so you'll draw that one, and you'll see if anybody wants to buy it. If they don't, then you can take it. And if you don't, then it stays there, and you'll do the next one. And a monster. So now you can fight it if you want to, and if you fight it, then you'll get something off of this track, depending on how far down the track things have gone. but you'll also get one of these monster tokens that will have, different things on it as well. Or I should say different points. You get 3, 2, or 4 points, I think is what it is. But let's say that, you ended up with something like this, and then finally somebody took the last one here, took this 5er, right? And they took that. The rest of these are going to go down here, face down. And so the other thing a person could do is, instead of diving into the depths, they could take one of these stacks, and they'll take everything from the stack into their hand. And these cards, though, are what you're going to use to buy these guys, or to recruit these lords, right? And so this one requires 10 points. And since there's only a single bubble here, it means that all of those 10 points have to come from the crab faction. See, I only have 4 points right now as far as that goes. Whereas something like this, the keeper here is going to need 3 different factions. One of them must be the seahorse, but the other 2 can be whatever you want, and only 6 points are required. So that's pretty much it. That's how you play the game. I mean, that's all there is to it, and you're just playing until I think it's 7 lords get recruited or something like that, and then you see who has the most points, and that is Abyss. Number 32 is Anno 1800. This is based off of a video game that I've never played, but this one immediately caught my attention the first time I played it. Let's dig through here a little bit. Now, I will say my biggest problem with this game is the setup, because every time you set it up, you got to go through all these tiles and stack them in their individual spots on this board. But, granted, I play some games that have some pretty long setups, so I shouldn't complain too much. But the idea here is that once you have these set up on the board, these are all different industries, basically, and you're going to be using your player board. You're going to have these cubes on here that each represent the different workers. You've got farmers, workers, artisans, engineers, and investors. And so these different people are coming through, and you can see it takes a farmer to activate this one, and it gives you wood. It takes a farmer to activate this one, and it gives you wheat, I believe is what it is, potatoes, pigs, etc. And so as you're going through, initially you've got these sort of low-level buildings, but they're going to allow you to then, as you activate them, you will be able to pay for these other buildings and take them, and you can build on to these empty spots. You can cover up buildings you've already got. You can open up the old world and add on to down here. That's how it goes. Add on to your section like this, so you could really start opening it up. And sometimes you get lucky and you have these free buildings on here. Here you would have 2 extra workers, for instance. There's another building that you'd get that makes brick. There's and I say workers, farmers, and then workers. Or no, what are those? Those are not workers. Those are engineers. Was that what it was? Yeah. Artisans. Ah, man, I have trouble with the terminology sometimes in this one. But you can see, so each of these old world places is going to give you some sort of bonus for opening it up when you do that. There's also, and also obviously you're opening up extra space here to build additional buildings. And with the new world, you're basically opening up trade for these items that you could only get from the new world. All right. You're going to have, as far as your ships go, you got the ability to do trade or exploration. Again, trade has to do, with like the new world and stuff like that, but also there's other ways you can use that. And the exploration is also how you're going to open stuff up as well. And you can get better ships and everything for both exploration and trade. And you've got these cards that are farmer and worker cards, as well as artisan, engineer, and investor cards. And you're bringing these cards into your hand. And the way the game ends is actually when a player has played all their cards from their hand. But a lot of the stuff that you're playing is bringing more cards into your hand. And so there's this interesting push and pull of as you're playing, but you're pulling more stuff in. And eventually you're kind of culminating in this, boom, all my cards are gone. The game is ending now. And it's a really cool end game trigger. It's definitely one of those end game triggers. When I first started playing, I was like, I don't understand how the game, like, I feel like I could just make the game go on forever if I wanted to, and you probably could really draw it out, but then you feel like you're not getting everything you can from the cards as well. The in-game trigger is just really unique, at least to the games that I've played, and something that I really enjoyed sort of experimenting with as well. But that is Anno 1800. And finally, my number 31 is new to the list. That's Ready, Set, Bet. Now, I don't own a copy of it, so here we are with this image from Board Game Geek. This is a game that I had no concept that I would enjoy it or think it was anything more than just kind of a fun little distraction. I played it at, I do a weekend of gaming twice a year. And my buddy brought it out, said we had to play this. His kid was going to play it with us. And keep on, this weekend of gaming, normally we're playing things like On Mars and Paladins of the West Kingdom and Anachrony and you know, things of that caliber. Endless Winter, you know, things on that level of complexity. And so he brings us out, and I'm like, okay, whatever, you know, this will be fine. It was phenomenal. It was so much fun. That's the app. You have the board itself that looks like this. I mean, it looks like something from Vegas, and you are, you know, when you start, you don't do anything until the race begins. Technically, you can play this without an app, but the app really makes it feel like it's a real race and you are placing bets on real horses. So then you have the app, right? Here it is. And all the horses start over here. And then the whole idea is that it's just dice rolls. Dice rolls are making the horses go. And when an 11 or 12 is rolled, this horse goes. So obviously that horse is going to go less, statistically speaking, than the 7 horse, who is the most commonly rolled number on a pair of dice. And so as you're betting, you know, obviously you're going to get putting a bet on 11 and 12 is riskier, but the payout is much greater, of course. And so as you're going, you can keep placing bets right up until, I believe the red line is what indicates when bets, as soon as a horse passes the red line, there's no more bets on the race. And you can put down, you have a number of different tokens you're putting down for different, you know, risk factors essentially on how much you're betting and everything. And then when the race, you know, ends, then you go through the payout step and everybody's getting different amounts based on what they bet and where and the multiplier. And then as the race gets, or as the game gets deeper into more and more races, then you're going to be getting special tokens that have, they're not powers, but they give you extra ways you can bet with even higher risk, high reward type things going on. It was a phenomenal time. I cannot believe how much fun this game was, but it really is. That's Ready, Set, Bet. And that is my 40 through 31. Be sure to come back. I am recording this on a Saturday. Monday night, I'll be recording the next 10, which will get us through 21. And Tuesday, I may record the next 10 as well to get us through 11. I really wanted to get this series done by the end of May. It's going to bleed into June again, but that's just the nature as I continue pushing out. Can't wait till we finally get to 100, but that's still a few years away, I think, based off of how frequently I'm playing brand new games. Or new to me games. Anyway, thanks so much for watching this. Come back for the rest of the list. Go back and watch the previous videos if you haven't seen them yet. Check out, I've got the cards in this video for some of the stuff that I've put out about each of these games. Leave a super thanks in the chat. Check out upcoming fantastic instructional videos for Frosthaven, instructional videos for Aeon Trespass Odyssey, 1815 Scum of the Earth, and Lands of Galzer. All that coming up. Oh, and don't forget Dungeon Universalis. Thank you to everyone who enjoys the channel, all the subscriptions, and until next time, if you're bored online, board offline.